Hello, this is Kari from SEPULCHRAL CURSE. Luxi and the Metal Crypt asked me for my four favorite or most influential albums of my life, so here I am in my garage giving a small details about all the albums that I will be having here. Okay, when you're talking about the most important albums of your life, you always need to start from the very beginning. So for me, when uh, when the spark for heavy metal in my heart, it all began with one certain band, and that certain band is Lake of Tears. Everything began with this band. My sister asked my friend to burn a couple of songs by Lake of Tears way back over 20 years ago, I guess. There was this certain song called Raisin and the Rose. And I remember sitting next to my sister's CD player when she put the song on, and I was instantly uh, mystified. I never heard music like that, combining heavy riffs, very sad and sorrowful music, and fantasy lyrics. The song was called Raisin and the Rose form. So it was from a book series that I was also reading as a kid. So uh, it kind of opened my mind. How can you combine music like this and fantasy literature and blah blah blah? So needless to say, I came extremely obsessed with this band called Lake of Tears. I guess this might be a bit of a surprise for most, as it's very obscure, not that well known, and the style is well maybe something that people don't, you know, think of me when I think about the music I listen to. But yeah, Headstones is the, I guess they're one of their more refined albums when from their early years when they were a lot more doomier, so to say. But definitely one of the most important albums of my life, right here, Headstones. I don't listen to it anymore that often, but when you know the song so well, you don't need to really listen to the album because you know it uh, from start to finish. But yeah, Headstones. That's where it all began for me with my love for heavy metal. So I guess this next one, this is not a surprise to anyone if they know me even remotely, but here it is: Candlemass, Nightfall. Uh, After uh, finding Lake of Tears, um, I started going through my sister's CD collections, and there was a lot of you know power metal and all like very traditional Finnish heavy metal, and that was okay for that time. But I started yearning for something more. Uh, I want. They didn't sound like Lake of Tears at all. It was Lake of Tears was much heavier than those bands. So uh, I remember searching my other sister's. Well, I'm googling at my other sister's place. We didn't have internet back at home at that time, and I remember finding the word called doom metal. Someone defined Lake of Tears with this word, and I was like, that sounds really, really interesting kind of music. What can it be? Then, when we got internet back at home in Parainen, where people didn't have that back in those times, I remember. Uh, I don't know. I don't remember what page or program it was, but it was. I can say that it was a illegal downloading program since the crime has, it's over 20 years ago. But I remember finding this one song from some sort of archive of doom metal that it said uh, "At the Gallows End," and I was, now that sounds pretty cool, and uh, I downloaded the song, and that was that. I never heard anything like that, and from that moment on, Candlemass has been like the best band for me ever. Nightfall, it's truly perfect album in my opinion. I always preferred Messiah Marcolin era of Candlemass. I sadly never saw them live, so that's something that you know sucks. But maybe one day, who knows? But this was the spark for me, like truly finding my own taste in life in heavy metal. Doom metal was for me like one big era of my life. I dug out all the doom metal I could find. After Candlemass, it was River and Bizarre and all other traditional doom metal bands. Anything that I could find my hands on. After that, it started. It didn't feel heavy enough, so I started listening to Funeral Doom and some Drone and Death Doom, and it was kind of rabbit's hole. Like when you started to go down that hole, you needed more. But from that Death Doom, so to say, I started to find I was more and more interested in this kind of death metallic stuff. It kind of started growing onto me, and I guess that was the next step of my musical, influence or career or whatever you want to call it. It was these bands that were like they were death metal, but they had these slower parts that were kind of resonating with me very well. Autopsy, Bolt Thrower, Cyanide, but one of those bands was that kind of stood up for me, and it was Incantation. That's why I chose Onward to Golgotha as my third album, because this bad boy, this is what death metal is to me. Uh, it's this is the kind of death metal that resonates with me. I love the heavy doominess and most of all the really low guttural vocals. That's what death metal should be. For a very long time, whenever I was going to studio to record my own vocals, I always first listened to this before going, because that would remind me like what perfect death metal sounds. So, uh, Incantation, and I love everything they have done. John McEntee is like the god of death metal to me. Uh, but this is where it began for me. This was the first album I heard from Incantation. Definitely love it, as much as you can love any death metal album. Last but not least, I have something a bit more modern, one could say, and it is Sulphur Aeon, The Skite of Cosmic Chaos. So this is not old album. It's not 20 years old album, or what I guess all other albums are 30 or 30 years old or so. But here is a band that I've been truly, truly, truly obsessed is Sulphur Aeon. This is like I heard their first album, their first song on the first album called Incantation. Funnily so, and that kind of blew me away. For a very long time, I was looking for that most dirty, grimy death metal, but then I stumbled on this band that has a lot of melodies, and they are really ambitious with their music, and I've been obsessed. I could listen Sulphur Aeon forever, and it's I don't know. I've never seen them live yet, but every album they have made is a masterpiece to me. Uh, Sulphur Aeon, I chose this album because I think on this album they kind of found all the pieces, and they kind of found their own sound most precisely. Uh, they have pretty much everything there. There's like a lot of heaviness, some very black metalish stuff, clean vocals. They kind of outdid themselves on their third album. Of course, the fourth album just took it out a lot further, but yeah, this one really, really rips. Uh, One funny thing is that the first single, I think, "Lungs into Gills," my bandmates played that in my bachelor party, so even more uh, cool things and more meaning for this band. But yeah, Sulphur Aeon. That was my four albums. Of course, the last fourth album could have been a 50 other albums I really, really love, but today it was those four. So cheers, dudes.